Hi everybody, this is Dr. Anasuya Jagadevi Jagadisan. I am speaking as a registered and licensed counselor as well as a mental health practitioner in Malaysia. A very interesting end of 2018 when, because of a post I made about the legitimacy of a training which involved psychological assessments, a 2-day workshop on psychological assessments with no names of the trainer given. So I asked, is this legit? And the response from the site was, how do you make accusations like that? This is defamation. Take it down or we're going to sue you. I'm like, really? Okay. I'm not taking it down. I will be happy to take it down as soon as you give me the name, license, and registration number of your trainers. Guess what? Those names were never provided. Instead, the comment was deleted. Big surprise. Okay. And then came to me that, people who are con artists, people who are not quite legit, why do they get away with it? They get away with it because we are very scared of being sued. And that is not an empty threat. There is a colleague of mine who spoke out about these individuals, this individual in particular, who took a suit against him, legal action against him and against the place he works for. Luckily for him, the place he works for is backing him on this. And so they're supposed to go to court, but they haven't gone to court yet. It's interesting. It's going to be interesting to see what happens when it goes to court because we are going to be there. Okay. Anyway, so but the person who's suing him gets away with it because he uses threats. He uses the threat and he keeps everybody quiet. All right. Can't say I'm not scared of being sued, but I have to balance what I believe in, and I'm actually going to say that I'm going to not say names, so you really can't sue me, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you all some clues of how to make sure the therapist that you're seeing in Malaysia is legit. Now, number one, make sure they're registered with, if they're counselors, they must be licensed and registered with Lembaga Counsellor Malaysia. Please, Lembaga Counsellor Malaysia has a very solid baseline of training that any counsellor needs to have, this solid baseline of training. So at least you're assured of the minimum competency of your counsellor. It is a good system. So please make sure that your counsellors from Malaysia are endorsed by Lembaga Counsellor Malaysia. Now, the loophole in mental health in Malaysia, which allows for a slight breeding ground of not so legitimate practices in mental health, is the fact that clinical psychology does not have the same board of counselors, that same government board or body that endorses the training, minimum training of counselors, of clinical psychologists, the way Lembaga Counsellor does. So how do you check on clinical psychologists? If you need to check on clinical psychologists, check with the Malaysian Clinical Psychology Association. I repeat, Malaysian Clinical Psychology Association. That would be the body to call, to check with, are these legitimate therapists, are these legitimate counselors? There are some private groups of therapists that also have networks of legitimate counselors, but it's private, so there's no way for you to know whether they've checked 100%. So please check with at least a Malaysian Clinical Psychology Association, and the Malaysian that would be a body to check with. All right, in terms of clinical psychology. I don't want to say any other associations' names because there are some associations out there which are not legit. And how do you check on whether an association is legit? That might be an easier way of doing it. So say you want to check with a different association and you found a different association. How do you know that association is good? Check that association's board members. Who is the founding member? Who are the board members of that association? If you can see that association has got very clear statement of who the board members are, what are, how are their practices, how are new board members chosen, is everything up front? Fine, go ahead, follow that association. Make sure that the members of that association are members of high standing in the area of mental health. Okay, find people's name, do a bit of a Google search on therapists. If you're going to spend quite a bit of money, make sure make sure these people know what they're doing. So that is if you're looking for therapists. Now, if you're looking for training, how do you ensure? And because nowadays there's so many trainings being offered, how do we ensure that certification is legit? Now, when it comes to higher level, I mean degrees higher than a certification in Malaysia, you have to go to MQA, Malaysian Quality Assurance, if you're offering a full diploma or higher than a diploma, and that would be MQA does do its due diligence. MQA is as somebody working in education, MQA can be a bit of a it's a very stickler for rules. You've got so many rules to follow. But on the client side, on the people buying an education side, MQA is legit. MQA does its background, it does its due diligence, it makes life a bit hard for the academic side, but that's a good thing. It's not a bad thing for people on your side, for the members of purchasing power. So make sure that they have the MQA, what all they need from MQA in order to run their program. But for certificates, you don't need MQA. Certificates, anybody can run a certificate. So how do you check whether a certificate is legit? Number one, name of trainer. The names of the trainers must be made available. You must be able to see the background of the trainer so that you can Google them, you can check it up, you can see whether they're legit or not. An association can name somebody, especially a local Malaysian association, this endorsed by this association, run by this association. Yeah, then you go a bit further, and the only people involved in that association are the people who started the association. So be a little bit, aware of that, a little bit wary when it's just an association's name with no trainers named. Always make sure the trainer is named. That's the first one. The second one is please, 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 a 2-day workshop on assessments in general, a 2-day workshop on supervision in general can work if the trainers are good, if they are following a specific system, if they are very clear about what areas, what is the course content of that system. When you're offering an assessment, a 2-day assessment workshop, it has to be one assessment tool in general, because you can't do more than that. You cannot go and say, I'm offering an assessment workshop and I'm covering every single layer of therapy from aged to young people to couples. It doesn't work that way. But most people don't seem to realize that, although if you're going for this kind of training, you're supposed to be counselors and you're supposed to be psychologists as well. Due diligence, people. Look, there are many people who are more than willing to part you from your money. Make sure that when you're giving your money, you're giving it to people who have the skills to back up what they're trying to do. Now, there are legitimate people who charge high. There are legitimate people who charge medium. There are legitimate people who charge low. The amount that you pay for a training does not equate the quality of training that you get. So, just because you're paying more doesn't mean you're getting good training if you don't do your background check to make sure that the person offering that training is somebody that has, the skills to be a good therapist, and not just the balls to be a good con artist. Okay, anyway, I'm going to be trying to do something about this. I am actually going to, pick this up with Lembaga once again in 2019. I've already actually WhatsApp Lembaga on what happened with the case which I talked about earlier. But it's Christmas and New Year. I'm not expecting so fast replies. We shall see after that. As we are moving to a more productive, more efficient mental health system, I think that Lembaga Council Malaysia needs to take a stronger stand on people who we know are hurting clients. And okay, I may know it as an individual. I need to prove it, and I need Lembaga to come in on this, because if not, what's the point of my license? Why am I paying for a license if you're not going after the people who are using counseling and therapy to cheat people? So, we need to make a stronger stand on this. And that's a 10-minute video. Thank you very much. Um, have a good time, and please do your due diligence when you go and see a therapist or when you're going to go and get a training. Thank you.